What's going on, guys? It's Julian. It's Wednesday, and today is linguine, fresh pasta. Nothing beats fresh pasta. Well, maybe fresh bread, but we can talk about that later. And we are going to do Alfredo. Right? I think I've showed you guys Alfredo before, but if I haven't, and even if I did, I'm going to show you again. So over here I got some broccoli that I've either halved or quartered depending on how big it is. Tossed in a little bit of oil and some salt and pepper. Most people steam this. Same thing with cauliflower. I like throwing it underneath the broiler. Get a nice char on it. Right. So throw a little bit more oil. I'm gonna coat it pretty decently. Right. I'm gonna make sure it's pretty wet with oil so it just doesn't burn, but it roasts nice and evenly. And like I said, salt and pepper. You can actually throw garlic in here as well. Whole garlic cloves and some thyme, and roast it that way. And I just like throwing it on a cookie sheet or a sheet tray, however you want to call it. Throwing it underneath the broiler, and then we'll put a timer on for 4 minutes. That way we don't have to ruin our broccoli and have it all burnt and scorched and shit. So, what's everybody doing tonight? What's everybody making for dinner tonight? Like I said, we're doing Alfredo with this fresh pasta I made a few hours ago. I was going to do a video again and show you guys how to make pasta again, but had a bunch of errands to run today, so I just didn't get to it. So for our Alfredo, very simple, very basic ingredients. We got cream cheese, about a half stick, heavy whipping cream, shredded Parmesan cheese, and this garlic. We're going to use this garlic not in here because I don't want it to look like that. You know, I don't want it to separate too much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fry that when I pick it up in the pan. And like I said, we'll just use our mandolin on a 1. And we'll shave it pretty thin that way. It can get nice thin strips, and you only have to put a couple in each one. Unless you like a lot of garlic, which I do. And you can put as much as you'd like in there. It's all personal preference. So we've got our garlic slices. We've got our pot of water heated up back here, ready to drop some pasta. Fresh pasta only really takes about 2 minutes generally when it starts floating. It's sitting right about down al dente. We're going to start with, in our pot right here, is our heavy cream. Now this is a quart, right? So 4 cups equal a quart. So we're going to do about 2 cups worth of heavy cream, right? Half a quart, pretty decent size. It's very easy to make, so you can always add, you know, a little bit more heavy cream to thin it out. I like a thick sauce that coats it real well, almost like a red sauce. And then the trick to Alfredo in any cream-based sauces is your heat. Right? You never, ever want to set it too high, because if you do, you're going to scorch the bottom of your pan. And you're going to scorch that pot. Then you got to start all over. You got to wash pans, and who the hell wants to wash pans and make another Alfredo sauce, right? So, biggest lesson I can give you guys is patience. Now you can have it on a high heat, you just got to make sure you're right next to it. And I like taking this cream cheese and cutting it up into thin slices. That way I can smear and press it around. That way when it's starting to heat up and it breaks apart, it's not breaking up one big ass clunk of cream cheese. Right. So we've got our pot of water back here, our heated pot of water for our pasta. It's salted. And like I told you guys before, in the restaurant industry, we generally don't salt the pasta water because, you know, you don't want to have to continually run back and forth, you know, fill it full of water, because when water starts to reduce, the salinity content goes up, which means your water gets super salty, almost like beach water. And you don't want an overly salted pasta dish. So that's generally why we do nothing but just straight water, and then we pick it up in a pan, and that's when we start seasoning and everything like that. Just one second. We pick it up that way. That way everything's, you know, uniform. Nothing's too salty. That's why we use unsalted butter. That's why we never salt our chicken stocks, our beef stocks, anything like that. Let's check on this broccoli. You can already start to smell it. Broccoli, for some reason, I can't remember the enzyme that's in broccoli, but it always smells like fart whenever you cook it, whenever you heat it up. Generally, especially after you've cooked it once. All right, so that is our timer. I just checked it, so I'm gonna put it on for another 4 minutes. I've got the rack all the way down to the bottom just so I don't scorch my broccoli. You know, it's very easy to forget, you know, that you threw broccoli in there, and the broiler's the highest setting, sits at like 550. You know, so it's gonna heat it from above, vice heat it from below, or all around, as most induction ovens would. Right? So you can tell your stuff's starting to get warm when your cream cheese stops sticking to your whisk. Right? You always want to stir and scrape up that bottom, that way nothing's sitting on there and nothing's scorching. Like I said, if it scorches, you might as well just throw it away. And this is a pretty quick dish. I don't think I ever had this dish until I got with my wife, until we started dating. I think this is one of the first things she made me. Should make this with chicken and broccoli, and it's delicious. And ever since then, ever since I really started cooking, you know, I've always cooked, but once I really started cooking, I kind of took over this and made it mine, you know. And most of the time what I'll do is I'll take, you know, a whole garlic clove or a whole garlic bulb, and I will cut it in half, hit it with a little oil, a little salt and pepper, and then throw it in the broiler, or throw it at a 350, 375 degree oven. And I'll let that go for 20 minutes until it starts to get real soft and it starts to turn in a very, you know, yellowish brownish color. When you're roasting garlic, that's what it does. And you can actually do one of a couple different things. I was going to say two, but I'm pretty sure there's more things you could do with it. What I like doing is I like taking that and then squeezing them out, right? It's kind of disgusting looking, almost looks like a zit. But you can actually squeeze it on bread that's already been toasted. And you've got a really nice roasted garlic bread. Hit it with a little salt, a little oil, a little pepper. And it's a perfect garlic bread. Nice little crostini. Or you can actually put it into a sauce and then blend it. You know, hit it with a little immersion blender. All right. So our sauce is about as hot as it's going to get. And I don't want it to get too much hotter because I don't want it to scorch. Now this is about a half of a wedge of Parmesan cheese that I shredded. Right. Whenever I add cheese, I generally kill the heat. Right? Because if you don't, whenever you start getting it in there, it starts incorporating. It has a very big chance of breaking and separating, and then you got to start it all over. Right? The residual heat that you have in there should be fine to melt this really quickly. It's got a very low, you know, I guess hardness or thickness. You know, it's very meltable cheese. So it'll do just fine in, you know, this hot of liquid. So like I said, it's all about patience. You don't ever want to sit here and cook anything on a high heat. You run the risk of burning and ruin everything you worked on. So like I said, just be wary of that, you know. So we might throw just a little bit more Parmesan cheese in here just to thick it up some. Now, the reason I add cream cheese is because it gives it a nice body and a nice mouthfeel. It adds more fat, adds a thickness to it. And yes, we're going to add some more Parmesan cheese. I want to show you guys something with the Parmesan cheese. Like, a lot of people throw away the rind. The rind's actually really good. You could actually leave it in here and it'll melt almost all of that cheese. Let's check our broccoli one more time. It'll melt all that cheese, put it on another 3 minutes, And like I said, this would be a lot quicker in the broiler if you had it all the way at the top. But like I said, I don't like things getting cooked improperly, cooked too fast. I've got nothing but time right now, so it's not that big of a deal if, we're waiting on that. But going back to the rind, a lot of people throw it away. And what I mean by rind is this hard, waxy right here. Right? It's what whenever they do cheese, that's what preserves and holds it in. That's what keeps stuff in and out. Right? Lets it age. Right? And this is just a microplane. It's like a $20, $30 tool. Great little kitchen tool. There's a few things that I always suggest people carry. A mandolin, because in most restaurants, the mandolins they have is dog shit. Nobody takes care of the shit because they're not buying it. So it's always good to have certain things in your knife rolls, right? Your knife kits, knife rolls, however you want to call it. Mandolin being one, microplane being another, right? And you can kind of go from there, and it's all about personal preference at that point. But those are, other than your knives, those are two big things that I always suggest people carry. Plus, they make the things a lot quicker and a lot easier. I don't want to have to break out a razor blade like in Goodfellas and sit here and shave garlic, razor thin. I'd rather just take a mandolin and take, 20, 30 seconds to do a few of those, vice breaking out a razor blade and trying to sit there and really get it thin and uniform. The mandolin does all the work for you. Right? So, but with this rind, what I like doing, especially when I get down towards the end, I like taking this and throwing it in there. What it's going to do is it's going to melt all of that cheese that you probably don't want to sit there and try to grate with microplane, because you'll start actually getting a lot of rind in yours just because of, it's a wedge, it's a curve. You're not going to get it all. That actually helps, get all of that so you're not wasting anything that's usable. Right. So that's pretty thick. It's about the thickness I'd like, so we're actually going to start seasoning this. Now, most people probably wouldn't use black pepper. They might use a white pepper, but this is how I like doing it. I think black pepper holds up quite well. You've got to have some kind of body. You've got to have some kind of heat. Salt and pepper just always goes really great together. Like I said, you can use white pepper, but white pepper to some people has a very, penny feel to it. If you ever, bit your tongue and you have that blood, that iron taste, that copper taste, that's what white pepper kind of, tastes like to a lot of people. And black pepper, we've used it so much, at least here in America, it's very, 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 very big. It's one of those things that's almost on everybody's table. The broccoli is done. The broccoli is perfect. Right. Let's go ahead and get this out of the broiler, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Right. So you can see it's nice and brown. Doesn't have to be, falling apart, fork tender type of thing. I like a little bit of a bite to it. Let me try this real quick, and then we'll drop some pasta, and we will be off to the races. That's good. All right, it's perfect. So we'll actually take this, pop our pan on, let that heat up for just a minute. Let's actually clean off our stove top so it's not so much of a mess to clean up later. I really enjoyed yesterday seeing what you guys were cooking. I think I'm going to start doing that on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I saw a lot of people responding to it, and telling me what you guys were cooking. It was interesting to see, what you guys are doing, throughout the week. Plus, you guys hear and see me so much. I figured it's a nice change of pace to, see what you guys are doing. And the reason I encourage people to, post pictures is not just because of exposure to the page. Interaction is really key when it comes to anything on social media, asking questions, getting people to respond, liking, sharing. Those are always some of the biggest things you guys can do to help support. And they're all free. And it only takes a second to hit that share button, hit that like button, leave a comment. But what it does is it's the same thing, I'm pretty sure, in every industry or every facet of life. You know, you look back on pictures of things that you did when you first started. Like, let's say you started working out, you know, 2 years ago, and you take a picture of your gut, you take a picture of your arms, you take a picture of your entire physique. Then 2 years later, when you keep up with it, you can see how you've progressed and how your body's changed. Well, it's the same thing with cooking. I like taking a lot of pictures of my food because you can see that there's levels to this shit, right? You know, you got these different levels, these different tiers, and the more you do it, the better you get, right? Same thing with working out, same thing with anything, right? Putting in the work, putting in the time really helps. But it also shows you stuff too. Like, oh man, I didn't like the way that looked, or I didn't like the way that tasted. And you have a visual, you know, representation of what you did in that point in time that you can go back and change. You know, a lot of people don't write down what they do in the kitchen. You know, I came from a family that didn't do that, sadly. You know, a lot of my granny's recipes, you know, is just as far as anything goes, it's memory or people telling me, you know, what she did. And this is our fresh pasta. I actually threw it in the freezer, which is perfectly fine. That's how we do it in most restaurants. The only difference between my pasta and, you know, most restaurants' pastas is the addition of citric acid. I don't add citric acid in here because I generally use my pasta within the first day, 2 days tops, because if you don't, continually it starts to oxidize and it'll turn this ugly, you know, black brown color, or gray color, and it just looks, you know, unappealing and unattractive. So, you know, in the restaurant field, we would take the pasta dough, we'd add maybe a teaspoon or a quarter teaspoon's worth, you know, of citric acid, which holds color. It doesn't let the air ruin your pasta and all that stuff, because this doesn't take much time, but it's a lot of work, you know. Same thing with bread. So you always want to make sure you're taking care of anything you can take care of, right? Preserve as much. You never want to waste food. There's so much food that gets wasted these days that, you know, why be one of those people, right? Always try to save, always try to utilize anything and everything you possibly can. You can actually take the stems off of this broccoli that we cut. Long stems, because most of the florets are at the top, and you've got about, I'd say, a good 50% is stock, and 50%, if not less, is floret. And you can actually take those, keep them, freeze them. You can use them for vegetable stocks. You can actually make a cheddar and broccoli soup. I'll show you guys that pretty soon too. I've been in a real big, if there's a couple things that I can cook, soup for sure is one of those damn dishes, right? So I want to show you guys some stuff. That way you don't have to buy that nasty Campbell's shit, you know, or if you're in Florida, go to, you know, a store that everybody goes to for fried chicken and soups and stuff like that and subs. And their soups are generally just stuff that it's a lot like Campbell's, you know, not good. So nothing wrong, you know, I'll eat Campbell's soup every once in a while, but if I can make it, I'm gonna make it myself. I don't try to shit on anybody or blast anybody for doing what they do, but I know the benefit of cooking at home and how good it can be for you, your family. You know, you control how much salt goes in there, you control how much fat goes in there, you control what you guys eat. You know, it's so easy to go out and eat. You know, I do it all the time. We go out and grab something just because it's quicker, you know, with a kid, a wife, 4 dogs, and a cat. You know, it's got the tendency to be, you know, a little hectic from time to time, like most people's lives are. Right? So, we're going to take our pasta out. I want to drain most of that liquid off. We're going to have a little bit of liquid. It's fine, but you got to be wary. When you're messing with oil and you're messing with liquid, you know, water and oil don't mix, right? So always be careful. Always try to drain when you can, right? And you can actually use some of that pasta water to thicken up dishes, right? There's a lot of starch in there, right? So our garlic is almost there. And our garlic's going to continue to cook even after we put this in here, right? So I've told you guys before, whenever you're toasting garlic, you don't want to do it too fast. You want to try to make sure everything's pretty uniform, because if it gets too dark too quick, it's going to become bitter. Right. Throw that in there. Let's go ahead and throw some of this great Alfredo sauce in there too, right? So like I said, I told you guys it was going to continue to cook, right? Can't really see it because it's covered in Alfredo sauce, which isn't a bad thing, but it's toasted perfectly. It's all about watching what you're doing. It's all about seeing what's going on, right? And usually I would season this, you know, but I'm not going to because I already seasoned that liquid. And I already seasoned that sauce. So let me bring you guys over here real quick. I'll show you how we finish it. Don't mind my Macho Man Randy Savage t-shirt. Huge wrestling fan. For some of you guys that know that, I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys know that. Huge wrestling fan, and he's for sure on the top of my Mount Rushmore. So, I know what you're thinking, that's probably enough for 2 people. But if you're a fat guy like me that loves fresh pasta, that's just enough, just for me. Okay. So let's take some of that broccoli that we did, that roasted broccoli. Let's put it off right to the side. Don't look like much. It's not as pretty as some of my plates are, or some of my bowls are. But I'm telling you, can't beat that combination. I don't know what I'm gonna do yet for Friday. It's still up in the air. I've got to take my old dog Louie to get his stitches out on Friday, so I'm gonna have to try to come up with something pretty easy. Like I said, I don't know what I'm gonna do yet, so if you guys got anything you want to see, any suggestions you want to, mention, please let me know. All right. So that's been me. That's been Alfredo. I've showed you guys how to make pasta before, so that's why I didn't show you today how to make pasta. Showed you guys last week. Just had a bunch of stuff going on, so I couldn't get to it yet. Grilled cheese and soup sounds good. Fajitas are always amazing. Nah, you just inspired me. I didn't copy you, Uncle Eric. Like I said, told you guys what we were doing earlier. So if you guys have any suggestions or anything you want to see on Friday that's quicker, I'm gonna post a picture tomorrow. I'm doing a fried rice for my family while they're in town. What's going on, Chris? Made it just in time. So if you guys want to see anything, like I said, on Friday, please either comment, message, just reach out. Don't forget to like, share, and follow this page. Subscribe to the blog. Share this with your friends and family. Check back again on Friday to see what I'm doing. But also Thursday, probably do the same thing I did yesterday, which asks you guys what you guys are cooking. Don't be afraid to share pictures. And also, if you're liking what you're seeing, please go rate and recommend this page. This is how I get more exposure as well. It's quick. It's a nice thing to do. And if you're enjoying it, tell everybody how much you're enjoying it. It only takes 1 or 2 minutes at most. If you can type pretty quickly, over in an instant, I guess, right? So, thank you again for watching. Hopefully you guys try this dish. It's one of my favorite things to do, and I owe it pretty much all to my wife, because without then I was just a spaghetti and meatball kind of guy. Kind of broadened my horizons, right? So, check back tomorrow. Tell me what you guys are cooking. Share photos. Don't forget, like I said, like, share, follow. Subscribe to the blog. Subscribe to the YouTube page. And leave a rate recommendation. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like. I'm pretty easygoing when it comes to growing. I like seeing the things I do wrong or the same things that I might not do as well as you or anybody else. So, leave some love on there. Leave some hate if you want to. Just be prepared. If you leave hate, I'll have to come back at you. That's not foreboding or anything or foreshadowing. Anyways, thank you again for spending some time with me today. I appreciate it. Share this video. Share the picture I'll send in just a little bit. And have a great Wednesday. Thank you again. Bye-bye.